Welcome back to some more Reddit stuff, and this time I have disturbing Reddit stories oh my god, I can't read. Disturbing Reddit stories that actually were true. Okay. I can't want to add words in there. Alright. I saw this one, thought, I wonder, because there are times where you see these Reddit stories and you're like, there's no way in hell that's true. And then there are times where they're written well enough to, you kind of wonder if they are true. So this time we're going to see which ones are true, which ones aren't. So buckle up. Let's see what we got. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Content warning.
If you want to be scared, you don't need a horror movie. Just head over to Reddit, where real people have shared their creepiest real-life experiences. Today, we'll look at creepy Reddit stories that actually happened, starting from the least to the most disturbing. So my goal this year is to give you guys double the amount of videos without sacrificing quality. And in order for me to do that, we got to keep Visual Venture growing. 75% of you guys aren't subscribed, and it would mean the world to me if you did, and I promise to give...
Sorry, I'm not subscribed. I don't subscribe to a lot of things. I don't watch enough of his content. The only time I actually ever see his content is when other people are reacting to it. I didn't even realize it was that guy. I'm horrible. I know.
Give you more fire content. The creepy gym teacher. We've all had that one teacher we didn't really like. But Reddit user ButcherYaFace2000 shared a story about a gym teacher so bad he might just be the worst one ever. His name was Mr. Lyons. Mr. Lyons didn't seem like someone who would cause trouble. He was in his mid-50s, always smiling and popular with the staff. Other teachers thought he was a passionate teacher who wanted to see kids reach their potential. Then out of nowhere, he came up with a strange idea. He wanted to add yoga lessons to his morning gym classes. However, it didn't make much sense. Why yoga? But Mr. Lyons gave this big speech about how yoga improves focus and flexibility. He made it sound so great that the school agreed to give it a try.
I can see that. Because the daycare my kids went, the owner, she was into yoga. And she didn't have them like doing downward facing dog or anything like that. She just had them doing some simple things and it worked. It calmed the kids down. So... And it wasn't like she forced them to do it. It's like the kids enjoyed doing it. But I'm waiting to see how I have a rough idea how you turn this pervy. Because if you're on the internet, there's enough videos of people doing yoga.
Did they know Mr. Lyons had an evil reason for bringing yoga into the gym? Mr. Lyons wasted no time starting yoga sessions, but soon things got weird. Mr. Lyons began playing favorites, especially with the female students. He spent most of his time helping the girls with their poses while ignoring the boys completely. Then there were the yoga poses he picked. Mr. Lyons always made the class do certain poses, but his favorite was the downward dog. If you've seen it, let's just say it's not exactly something a group of 6th graders should be doing in front of a grown man, but somehow things...
Actually, that's what I was talking about, like the yoga poses. Overall, there's nothing wrong with the yoga poses themselves. It's when someone makes them pervy. In this case, that's what happened. If you ever seen downward facing dog, all you're doing is you're laying down, you're pushing up. In fact, we used to do that as kids when I was growing up, just joking around doing that stuff before we even knew what yoga was. But yeah, now perverts have made it pervy. Thanks, perverts.
Things got even weirder. A few weeks in, Mr.
Oh, and you can't just blame the guys on it. There's a lot of you pervert women out there. You wear outfit that is literally see-through. And before you say, oh, you're victim blaming. No, I'm saying there are women who will literally wear see-through clothing in public. They're not going to the club. They're not going to some spectacular thing. They're going to Walmart wearing see-through clothing. And it's like, really? But yeah, and I don't understand people who wear the yoga pants that are see-through. Like one time I was at the gym and I just happened to turn and there's a girl, she's bent over and you can see everything. You see her underwear. The yoga pants were yellow. They stood out first off. And when she bent over, they were like almost invisible. You could see her flesh and her underwear. It was just like, I just remember thinking, well, let me look away before I wind up on the video. But it was just like, why? You know, just wear. She could have wore yellow collar underwear on them, and probably no one would have noticed. And I wasn't the only one that noticed because there's a mirror right in front of me. Hit my mic here. there was a mirror in front of you when you're on the treadmill, and that's where I was. And I could see other people looking kind of like, and there was a lot of women going, just want to, why look? So it wasn't just me. So that doesn't help. So there are pervy women out there, just as many pervy men. So you can't blame the men all the time for this.
Lyons convinced the school to let the girls wear skirts to gym class while the boys...
He just keeps making it worse. You know what? If I was there and I was a teacher, I believe I'm a good judge of people. Am I 100% accurate all the time? No. But I felt probably anywhere between 80 to 85% accurate when I judge people. And if I had been around this guy at this time, I'd be like, we probably shouldn't do the yoga. They'd be like, why? I wouldn't be able to explain it without sounding crazy. Like, I just got a bad feeling. I know it's not a good enough reason, but we shouldn't do the yoga. Because sometimes you can just pick up on that stuff with people. And I know a lot of people, you probably have ADHD or autism or something on the spectrum. It's like, no, I'm just very aware of my surroundings. You don't have to have autism or ADHD to be aware of your surroundings. You just have to be aware of your surroundings. It baffles me the number of people who are not aware of their surroundings. I taught my kids to be aware of their surroundings. I said, always be mindful of your surroundings. You can still have fun, but just be mindful. It's like if you see something out of the corner of your eye that's not right, pay attention because something's about to go down, and your instincts are screaming, get the hell out of there. And I told my daughter and son, I don't care what your friends say. If your instincts are telling you get the hell out of there, get the hell out of there. Leave them. So yeah, it just baffles me how many people are not aware of their surroundings. Self-awareness is so important.
Stuck with shorts. And then came the strangest part. Mr. Lyons planned a trip to the beach for swimming lessons.
Please tell me he wasn't an anime fan or manga fan. Oh my God. We're not even, this is still the first story and already
Kept going in and out of the changing rooms. No one knew what he was up to. Even with all this odd behavior, no one said anything. Mr. Lyons was an experienced teacher with a spotless reputation, so no one suspected anything bad going on. And then in just one day, all Mr. Lyons' secrets were exposed. In 2016, Mr. Lyons made the news, but not for a good reason. Mr. Lyons was accused of secretly filming students while they changed.
I knew it. I could feel it. If I was one of the teachers, it's like, why is he going in and out of that? I would eventually go in and out of that room. I would go into that room. I was like, why is he going in that room? And I would track it. I'd be like, why is he going there when certain students are going in there? It's like, something's off. That's what I'm saying. These teachers just let it go. I wouldn't have. I would have been suspicious.
He allegedly used a hidden camera on a pen. At first, people didn't believe it. How could someone like Mr. Lyons do something so awful? But then he confessed, and his confession revealed even more disturbing secrets. The yoga lessons weren't about helping his students. Mr. Lyons kept the hidden camera pen in his pocket, recording the students while pretending to help them with their poses. He was doing the same at the beach, but Mr. Lyons wasn't keeping the videos for himself. He was selling the footage on the dark web to make money. This was absolutely insane. Eventually, the police caught on to what he was doing. They arrested Mr. Lyons and put an end to his crimes. While the exact court verdict is unclear, one thing is certain: Mr. Lyons didn't get away with it. This next experience...
They need to arrest the people who were buying it. There was a case where they did go after the people who were buying that stuff. They shut down the site, they arrested the owners, and they went after the people who were purchasing the information as well.
It can't be explained logically, and that's what makes it creepy. The dream that came true. Some people believe that dreams can predict the future. This one Reddit user explained how a dream predicted when her dad would pass away.
I'm a logical person, but I do believe in the power of dreams just because it happened to me. It's weird. I don't believe in God, but I believe that there is a power out there that's greater than us just because it happened to me. I had a dream about a situation in the classroom, and then a few days later, it came true. It wasn't nothing major. It's just the reason I recognized the classroom setting is like it was like deja vu, but it's like then I remember I dreamt this. I dreamt this a couple days ago. It's like, what the hell? And I know the thought is, oh, well, everyone's just reading the same. everyone's wearing the exact same clothing in the dream. So no one, it's not like they went this day and wore these clothes, and then the following week they wore the exact same clothes. Everyone wearing the exact same clothing? Nah. And in the dream, I was sitting where I was sitting in the dream in real life. And I remember in the dream, the girl raised her hand to answer a question. And I remember the teacher walking in between, like the chairs were in a circle, like a horseshoe half circle. And the teacher was in the center. I remember walking and asked for them to answer a question. And the girl raised her hand. And in the dream, it was the same girl. And it's just like, holy crap. And that convinced me of the power of dreams. Because then one day I lost my keys. Now this isn't the same thing as that, but I wonder, I clearly know where I put my keys. I just don't remember. So I said, I'm going to dream where I put my keys. And I found my keys the next morning. I dreamt where the keys were. And I went, they were there. I was like, oh, now I remember putting them there. So, I mean, those are two different aspects of dreaming. I mean, one, if you can control your dream, you can try to remember something. But on the other hand, that really happened to me. It was just like, holy crap, but it never happened again. I was like, I wish I could have dreamt the lottery numbers. It's like, I don't know what triggered it, or, if I knew how to trigger it, I would have been triggered all the time. Zipping to the future to see the test answers and stuff like that, writing them down, see what date was this, memorize these answers, a new level of cheating. But yeah, I do believe there's something to dreams, like there's more to it. Because sometimes my dreams are so random. Oh, I know I'm ranting a lot. But there was another dream I had. And this is also a reason why I believe in the power of dreams. Is because in that dream, I was with a girl. We were in a station wagon. And we were in the back of the station wagon making out. But in the dream, I was much older. I think I was in junior high or freshman in high school or something like that. But in this dream, it was just me and this girl. And the girl I've never seen before. But we were making out. But the reason I bring that dream up is because it was so vivid. The coloring in the dream, it was real. It was so real, so crystal clear. Like, I could smell her, like her perfume or whatever she had on. I could smell the stuff in the air. I could feel the sun coming through the window on me. I could feel touching her, making out and touching her and her touching me. And I could feel it all. And like, it wasn't like I wasn't like touching myself, asleep. It was like different skin tone. I was touching a different skin. And when I woke up, I was so damn confused. I'm looking around trying to figure out, where the hell am I? How did I get here? And then once I calmed down, I realized, holy hell, that was a dream. It was so realistic. It blew my mind. And it's just like, holy hell. All right, I'll try to get my range down. All right, let's get back to it.
Let's call the person who posted this story Julia. When Julia was 16, she went to bed like any other night. But what happened was anything but ordinary. In the dream, a shadowy figure appeared in her bedroom doorway. It was tall and dark with no face and no eyes. Just a spooky, dark figure standing there. Then it spoke. It said, "Your dad will die when you're 22. That was it. Then she woke up. Julia woke up in a panic. The next morning, she told her family about the dream. The part that really got to her was the prediction. Your dad will die when you're 22. Her dad tried to calm her down. His exact words were, "Don't worry about it. Now that you've told me, there's no way it'll happen." He promised to be extra careful, but some promises are impossible to keep. When Julia turned 22, her father passed away in a tragic accident, just like the shadowy figure predicted. She didn't share the details of the accident on Reddit, but she said their final words to each other were, "I love you," just 3 hours before he passed away. This next case also feels supernatural, but with a shock.
I always tell my kids I love them every chance I get, because you never know. It could be the last time. I tell my wife too. And I try to tell my mom and sister whenever I talk to them, "Hey, love you guys." So make sure you tell the people you love that you love them.
Not alone. This Reddit story is about a woman who had a terrifying experience inside her own home. We'll call her Marianne. Marianne lived a quiet life. Even though she lived by herself, she never felt unsafe. But then, strange things started happening around her house, things she couldn't explain. At first, it was little stuff. Her groceries didn't last long as usual. Marianne thought maybe she was eating more than she realized.
Someone's in her house. I've heard these stories. Someone's in her house.
or she was just forgetful, but then it kept happening. Eventually, Marianne was certain food was disappearing from her fridge. But it wasn't just the food. Extra dishes started showing up in the dishwasher. Dishes Marianne swore she never used. However, before she could solve the mystery of the dirty dishes, something else happened. Wet towels started appearing in her laundry hamper, even on the days she didn't shower. By now, Marianne was officially creeped out. She lived alone, so none of this made sense. But the final straw, the thing that made her truly scared, was the noise. Marianne started hearing thumping sounds coming from the attic. Was it the wind? Was it an animal? Were boxes shifting around? Marianne was terrified, but she also knew she couldn't just ignore it. If someone was in her attic, she needed to know. One day, she grabbed a flashlight, braced herself for the worst, and entered the attic.
No, you call 911. Don't do this, people. Don't go into your attic. If you hear something up there and you think someone's up there, call 911. Let the cops go look. Do not do this.
Stepped into the attic, she knew what was going on. Someone was living in her attic. She found a small radio, hot plate, sleeping bag, pillow, and a lot of food wrappers. But whoever it was, they weren't there at the time. Marianne called the police immediately. She told them everything about the missing food, the extra dishes, the wet towels, and now the person living in the attic. The police took her seriously. They figured the intruder wasn't using the front door and was probably climbing in and out through the attic window. They decided to stake out the house, waiting for the person to come back. It didn't take long. The same day, they spotted a man climbing a tree trying to get into the attic window. The cops grabbed him before he could escape. When the police questioned him, the man admitted everything. Apparently, this was his daily routine. He would wait for her to go to work, then go downstairs and help himself to food and amenities. When Marianne got home, he would either retreat to the attic or slip out of the house. It was a perfect routine until he got caught. The mystery was solved, but the story wasn't over yet. After seeing the man in person, Marianne felt a wave of compassion. The guy was actually really respectful, just down on his luck. Instead of pressing charges, Marianne decided to help. She let him move in, helped him get a job, and he lived in the attic until he got back on his feet. Most people wouldn't do what
I'm not sure about that last part, how true that is. The reason I say that, because I've heard these stories before, and that's the first I've ever heard of someone doing that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but yeah. I've even heard the story where it was the brother-in-law living in the attic and no one knew it. But yeah, that's a bit dangerous to do. Yeah, don't do that.
Did, but her kindness turned a creepy story into something heartwarming. But the next story didn't have a happy ending. If anything, it left people scared to fall asleep at night. The Scream. Around 2022, a question went viral on Reddit. It asked, "Night owls, what's the creepiest thing you heard at night?" One reply stood out from the rest. Let's call the guy in this story Ryan. One night, Ryan was home alone with his dog. He got into bed and started to fall asleep when a strange noise woke him up. Someone was screaming in the distance. It wasn't loud at first, so he brushed it off. There were a lot of kids.
We had someone screaming the other day. Me and my daughter were home. I was working. She was downstairs. And I'm like, what the hell? You can hear a guy screaming bloody murder. He's screaming, help me, help me. And he's running. You hear screaming, help me, help me. We called the police. It was like, yeah, the guy was running, screaming, help me, help me. We don't think the police ever came out, to be honest with you.
So he figured it probably was just them playing. But 10 minutes later, the screaming came again. This time it was louder. Another 10 minutes passed, and there it was again, getting closer now. His dog started growling in the distance of the sound. Although the doors were locked, Ryan felt unsafe in his own home. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The next time the screaming came, it was deafening, like it was right outside his window. His dog went wild, barking and scratching at the glass. Ryan was so terrified that he hid under his blankets. When the screaming finally stopped, Ryan forced himself to look out of the window, but there was no one there. His front yard was empty and silent, but the silence didn't last. Out of nowhere, several police cars pulled into the neighborhood. Officers jumped out and started searching the area with flashlights. Ryan didn't know what they were looking for, but it was clear this wasn't just a random patrol. Something serious was happening. Ryan felt a little safer with the cops nearby, but he couldn't relax. He had to know what was going on. The next day, Ryan asked his neighbors if they knew what happened, but their response made his jaw drop. Apparently, a mentally unstable patient escaped from a nearby psych ward. The patient ran through the neighborhood screaming at the top of their lungs. Even worse, the patient was armed with a knife. But Ryan had another question. Why did he hear screams right outside his bedroom window? Well, it was because the escaped patient ran past Ryan's bedroom and then crawled under his front porch steps, still holding the knife. If Ryan stepped outside, maybe to check on the noise or investigate what was happening, he would have come face to face with the armed patient. Thankfully, the police arrived and caught the patient before anyone got hurt. But the thought of how close he came...
You should have called the police, Ryan. You should have just called the cops and be like, hey, I hear screaming, and it's like right outside my window, and they probably would have surrounded your house.
Danger still haunts Ryan to this day. This next story happened back in the 1990s, and the guy involved was so shaken, he never told the story until now. The worst date ever. In October 2020, a post went viral on the True Scary Stories subreddit. The title was only 7 words, but it grabbed everyone's attention. It read, "I went to a serial killer's lair."
I might look for Reddit, bad Redding dating stuff. See what's out there. That's something to look up.
Back in the 1990s, Joe spent a lot of time in online chat rooms. He used the chat rooms as a dating app, trying to meet new...
I did that. Yahoo had a chat thing, and I used it to meet people. I really did. And I got laid a lot because of it. I kind of miss those chat times. It's like I see a picture of a girl and I would message her and we hook up. It was like Tinder before Tinder. It was awesome.
People he could date. Eventually, Joe started chatting with someone named Slim Guy 65. Their conversations were on the public board, not in private messages, so everyone could see they were chatting. Slim Guy 65 seemed like a great guy, funny, interesting, and kind. Joe started to like him, but then out of nowhere, Joe got an email warning him about Slim Guy 65. The message read, "My friend met this Slim Guy 65 person from this message board, and the guy really hurt him. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. My friend tried to tell the police, but they wouldn't do anything. I see you were talking to Slim Guy 65, so just be careful and stay away from him." Joe was spooked. He replied to the email asking for more details, but he never heard back. Weeks later, Slim Guy 65 messaged Joe again, asking to hang out in person. The warning was still on his mind, but curiosity got the better of him. Joe agreed to meet up. It was daytime after all. What could go wrong? Slim Guy 65 invited Joe to...
No! Joe, you're an idiot. I would like, no, I'm not coming over. We can hang out in public. And that's another thing. When I did meet these girls, I didn't go to their homes. We met in public. I wasn't that stupid.
Over to his house. When Joe got...
Great, I was stupid, but I wasn't that stupid.
To the door, he was greeted by a slim, soft-spoken man in his 40s. This was Slim Guy 65. He didn't look threatening at all. As soon as Joe stepped inside the apartment, he realized something was off. The house was abnormally empty with almost no furniture. The floors were spotless, like no one actually lived there. Slim Guy 65 quickly explained the situation. He said it wasn't actually his house. He was just taking care of it for someone else. The explanation was supposed to help Joe relax, but what Slim Guy 65 did next made Joe even more nervous. Slim Guy 65 walked over to the door and locked it, but not just any lock, a deadbolt. Joe tried to keep calm, but he couldn't ignore what just happened. He asked, "Why did you lock the door like that?" The question made Slim Guy 65 uneasy. He claimed he didn't just want anyone to walk in and interrupt them. Joe stayed calm, but was on high alert. Joe convinced Slim Guy 65 to unlock the door and leave the keys on the counter. At this point, the tension in the room was suffocating. To lighten the mood,
a deadbolt with a key. I don't see the purpose of deadbolts with keys on the inside. That if you're trying to get out the house fast, you're not getting out the house fast. If I gotta find my keys to get out the house, I'm dead. I lose my keys still. I got a place where I usually put them, but if I don't put them back there, I'm so dead. So yeah, when I see deadbolts with keys on the inside, it's like, who are you trying to keep in? My question.
Slim Guy 65 offered Joe a tour of the house, but as they walked through, things only got weirder. The kitchen didn't have a dining table. Instead, there was a long steel table like the kind you see in a morgue. Once again, Slim Guy 65 had an explanation. He said this used to be a doctor's office. The rooms were dark, the windows were shut, and nearly every door had a keyed deadbolt. By the time they reached the bedroom, Joe had seen enough. He looked Slim Guy 65 in the eye and asked, "What is it that you want to do here? Slim Guy 65 panicked and his words were all jumbled. But Joe just wanted to get out. He turned around and walked out of the house as fast as possible. As Joe drove away,
I would have bolted. I wouldn't have went there in the first place, actually.
was that guy some kind of killer? He considered going to the police, but what could he say? I went to a creepy guy's house and he had weird furniture? That wasn't enough to make a report. Joe never talked about what happened, but he never forgot it either. Then in the early 2000s, a news story brought it all rushing back. The news said several men from Joe's area had gone missing. One of them was found murdered. Joe's heart sank. He realized all the missing men were also looking for dates with other men. He started to wonder if they ended up in Slim Guy 65's home. Did he lure them in only to take their lives? Was he a serial killer? Joe will probably never know the truth, but the questions still haunt him. This next creepy experience happened somewhere we've all been, the mall. The killer clown. According to research, 1 in 10 adults have a fear of clowns. After hearing the story, you might develop
This John Wayne Gacy story. Was it John Wayne Gacy? I'm pretty sure it was him. It was the clown.
a fear of clowns too. The story was shared on Reddit about 3 years ago by a user named FlatApp28. Since we don't know his real name, let's call him Owen. When Owen was 16, he loved hanging out at the mall. He could spend hours wandering around. One day he was at the mall as usual when he realized the mall was about to close. Before leaving, he decided to use the bathroom. He went into a stall, sat down, and started taking care of business. That's when he heard it. The bathroom door creaked open. Then he heard footsteps. At first, Owen thought it was just someone else coming to use the restroom, but the footsteps sounded like they were heading toward Owen's stall. He listened quietly as the footsteps got closer and closer. Now he was getting nervous. Glancing down, Owen saw a pair of gigantic red clown shoes sticking through the bottom of the bathroom stall. His heart pounded. Why would someone be standing so close to his stall? And why were they wearing clown shoes? Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the clown shoes backed away from the stall door. Owen figured it was now safe to open the door, so he did. And that's when he saw him. Standing right outside the stall was a man in a full clown costume. The clown stood there silently, not moving, not saying anything, just staring with a fake smile printed on his face. Owen froze, unable to do anything but stare back.
That's just creepy. I'm not a fan of clowns one way or the other, but that just sounds creepy.
Then instinct took over. He ran past the clown and out of the bathroom. He didn't even bother to wash his hands. Owen kept running until he reached his car. Only then did he finally catch his breath. He didn't understand what just happened, but he knew it was creepy. A week later, Owen was scrolling through the news blog when he stumbled upon a disturbing article. It said they were upping security at the mall. The reason for it made Owen's heart race. According to the article, a man was attacked and murdered right outside the mall. The attacker was someone wearing a clown outfit. Owen was sure it was the same crazy clown he met in the restroom. That's when he realized just how lucky he was to get away unharmed. This next creepy experience was also a matter of life and death, but for a very different reason. She poisoned me. The story is about a boy named Ethan who says a witch tried to kill him when he was 6. Here's how it happened. When Ethan was 6, he lived with his parents in a rundown apartment complex. The neighbors got along. Then Mrs. Fitch moved in next door and the trouble started right away. For some reason, Mrs. Fitch clearly didn't like Ethan, and Ethan didn't like her either. He said he felt an evil presence around her. Every weekend when Ethan rode his bike with the other kids, Mrs. Fitch would stand in her doorway glaring at him. She would mutter things under her breath like she was insulting him. No matter where Ethan went, she always seemed to be nearby watching. Then strange.
I kind of wonder, is Ethan black and she's white? That crossed my mind.
Stuff started happening. Now, I can't verify this, but according to Ethan's story, at night, Ethan's rocking horse would move on its own. Dolls around the house would open and close their eyes. There were strange knocking sounds coming from inside the walls. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that Mrs. Fitch was behind these creepy experiences. One evening, Ethan and his mom got locked out of their apartment. His mom knocked on Mrs. Fitch's door to ask if she could borrow her phone to call for a spare key. But when they stepped inside Mrs. Fitch's apartment, apartment, they were creeped out by what they saw. Mrs. Fitch's walls were covered with multiple upside-down crosses and strange-looking masks with horns. Shelves were crammed with bottles of strange powders, and lit candles were scattered everywhere. It seemed like Mrs. Fitch was practicing dark magic. Ethan's mom quickly made the call, and they got out as fast as they could. A few days later, things went from weird to deadly. One day, Mrs. Fitch suddenly offered Ethan some candy, while it was a woman who disliked him suddenly being nice to him. It didn't feel right, so Ethan refused the candy. Later that same day, a little girl at the playground handed Ethan a piece of candy. Not thinking much of it, he ate it. Within an hour, Ethan started to feel sick. He broke out in a high fever, his skin turned pale, and he was drenched in cold sweat. His parents rushed him to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. Ethan's family was confused and desperate.
Now the question is, did he know the little girl that he was so quick to take the candy? 'Cause even at 6, I don't remember just taking candy from anyone. I guess that's just me. I don't remember my friends doing that either. We had to know you. We didn't just take candy. So I guess different generation.
Decided to try something different. They called a priest, gathered in a circle, and started praying over Ethan. They also gave Ethan some holy oil to drink while they prayed. What happened next was straight out of a horror movie. Ethan threw up thick black sludge. It was disgusting. Almost instantly, Ethan got better. His fever disappeared and he could breathe again. After this horrifying experience, the family came to one conclusion. Ethan was poisoned by whatever was in that candy. When the family asked around, they discovered that the girl who gave Ethan the candy was Mrs. Fitch's granddaughter. The candy she gave Ethan was from Mrs. Fitch. Not long after, Mrs. Fitch moved out. The family never saw her again. To this day, no one knows what was in that candy. Supernatural or not, I'll let you decide.
Not supernatural. It's just she needed a concoction to put together to make the kid sick.
The Stalker. How do stalkers choose their targets? In 2024, a Reddit user explained how she made one small mistake that led to a stalker hounding her for years. Let's call the girl in the story Kimberly. When she was just 13, she went to a summer camp. One of the camp activities involved practicing how to...
Yeah, I never understood that either about stalkers. Like you could just say hi to someone. Next thing you know, they're stalking you. You can say, hey, how's it going? Boom, you got a stalker. You can accidentally make eye contact. Boom, you got a stalker. You can just wait on them as customer service. And boom, you got a stalker. It doesn't take much for someone to stalk you. And did you know a lot of people don't even realize they have a stalker? Like I could have a stalker and not even know it. They're bored. If they are stalking me, they're bored as hell stalking me. I don't do anything.
Strangers. The kids were sent into a nearby town to ask people questions for a survey. It sounded harmless, but for Kimberly, it was the start of a nightmare. After interviewing a few people, Kimberly and her friend Anne approached an older man. He was friendly, too friendly. He didn't just answer their questions. He started asking them personal ones too. He wanted to know their names, where they were from, their hobbies, and other details. The girls, thinking nothing of it, answered honestly. To them, he was just a friendly stranger. But a few days later, something strange happened. Both Kimberly and Anne noticed their Instagram notifications were blowing up. Someone named Ed Patsis liked a bunch of their posts and left creepy comments calling them hot and sexy. At first, they ignored him, hoping he would go away, but he didn't. Instead, he started sending inappropriate pictures of himself. Terrified, Kimberly and Anne blocked him immediately. Not long after, the mysterious Ed Patsis account was permanently deleted. The girls thought they were in the clear, but they were wrong. Their nightmare was just beginning. When summer ended, the girls went back to school. That's when Ed Patsis reappeared, this time on Facebook. He sent Kimberly and Anne friend requests and left more creepy comments on their photos. They blocked them immediately. That's when the fear set.
Tell your kids to talk to you about this stuff. That's the question I want. Did these kids tell their parents? And the answer is probably no. I'll tell my kids, if you get anything remotely like this, you better tell me. If I find that letter, one, I'm going to whoop you, and then I'm going to go track this person down and take care of business. It's like, tell me. Don't be just handle it yourself. Tell me. You're a child. I need to know so I can take care of business. So yeah, so talk to your kids. Say, kids, if something like this happens, tell me. Use this as an example. This is why you need to talk to me. Tell me.
Who was Ed Patsis and why was he obsessing over them? The girls told their parents, who contacted the police. But the police weren't much help. They just told Kimberly and Anne to quit social media if they wanted the harassment to stop.
Yeah, police suck when it comes to this stuff. In some areas, they've gotten better. New laws have been passed. But yeah, overall, cops saying, we just don't get on the internet. It's like, that's not how that works when you got a stalker. In case you're not smart enough to realize, if you're a cop and that's your solution, you're not very bright. Because stalkers have been around since people have been around. They don't need the internet to stalk you. The internet just makes it easier for them to stalk you. So if you're a cop and this is your train of thought, please stop being a cop. You're going to cost someone their life. That's not a joke. I really think you should stop being a cop. Because that's horrible advice.
For the next 2 years, Ed kept coming back. He created new accounts over and over, spamming the girls with messages and comments. The girls blocked every account, but Ed Patsis always found a way back. There was even a point when the girls noticed a white truck following them around. They saw the same truck near their school and even at the park. One afternoon, when Kimberly was visiting her mom at work, the same white truck pulled in. This time, Kimberly got a good look at the driver and her heart sank. It was the old man they interviewed at summer camp. He was their stalker. Eventually, 4 years passed since the stalking began. Now, Kimberly was 17. One day in 2023, Kimberly was driving through town when Ed Patsis' white truck showed up behind her. This time, it didn't just follow, it chased her. Ed honked, flashed his lights, and stayed on her tail no matter how fast she drove. Kimberly sped through red lights and made sharp turns, desperate to lose him. After 25 terrifying minutes, she finally got away. Shaking, she called Anne to tell her what happened. When Anne answered, she was crying. Anne said that same day, a red car followed her and tried to force her off the road. She barely escaped. The girls believed whoever was in the red truck was Ed Patsis' accomplice. Now, Kimberly and Anne were on high alert, waiting for the next time Ed or his accomplice would show up. But then, something happened that made them realize their stalker would never return. Kimberly saw a news report about an attempted kidnapping in a nearby town. The suspects were two men, one in a white truck, the other in a red car. It seemed Kimberly and Anne weren't the only ones Ed Patsis was stalking. The good news was that these suspects were arrested.
Good. That's what I mean by cops suck sometimes. I won't say all cops suck, but the cops in these situations, they seem to suck. It's like, that's not good advice. And a lot of times cops, there's nothing we can do. There is actually stuff cops can do in a lot of situations. They just choose not to. I learned that a long time ago.
Kimberly shared her story on Reddit, ending with these words. It took years to get rid of them, but now we don't have to worry about the men anymore. These stories weren't just creepy. There's a good chance that most of them actually happened. It's a reminder that the world can be a dangerous place. So if you get a weird feeling about it.
Okay, that's the end of it. Those were some interesting stories. Yeah, the stalking one, definitely tell your parents. Clearly the cops suck. I would have went around those cops and did something else. But yeah, you gotta teach your kids to be aware of their surroundings. A lot of these stories, like the guy who went to the house after being warned, don't go to this guy's house. You were an idiot. Why would you do that? Well, anyways, very interesting. But it got me thinking. I might look up like bad dating experiences, like what's a bad date on Reddit and see what we got there. But otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe, and everyone take care. Later.